plan to do tonight is to do a critical analysis of the nation's prison service. So good evening and welcome to the program, which begins right now. One of the purposes of incarceration is punishment. Another is rehabilitation. Modern prison service in Nigeria began in 1861, and by 1910, more prisons were established in Benin, Ibadan, Sapele, Jeba, Onitsha, and Lokoja. According to records, colonial prisons at this stage was not designed to reform anyone. Instead, inmates were used for public works and other jobs for the colonial administration. The Nigerian government introduced reforms and transformation program in 1972 when it became apparent that the dilapidating state of the prisons cannot guarantee the reformatory process of the inmates expected to reintegrated into the society. But the call for the reform of prison service is becoming perennial because various programs proposed by successive administrations in Nigeria towards improving the nation's prisons failed to achieve tangible reforms, as the menace of dilapidation still poses a concern requiring urgent attention. Nigerian prisons are reported to be characterized by overcrowding, poor ventilation, inadequate medical attention, and dilapidating infrastructure. And as an important arm of the criminal justice system charged with the responsibility of taking convicted offenders into custody, we will examine the intricacies of prison reform programs in Nigeria and how the current administration intends to reverse the trend with its own reform program. My name is Kirin Umayo. Thank you for joining us on your weekend companion for today. And now we begin tonight's program with the news as usual. The federal government says it is irrevocably committed towards ensuring the dignity, safety and security of Nigerians from all walks of life, especially in the provision of effective healthcare service. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo said this while receiving in audience members of the White Ribbon Alliance, a non-governmental organization advocating a citizen-led responsibility of better health in the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The White Ribbon Alliance was in the State House to seek for political will in the task of ensuring not only transparency and accountability in the utilization of resources meant for health services, but also transferring patients' care to the community. Receiving members of the group led by the Minister of Health, Isaac Adewale, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo applauded them for championing a worthy cause towards enhancing the health and well-being of Nigeria.
And I promise to be as useful a part of it as I can possibly be.
The acting president was particularly delighted with the commitment of the group members towards ensuring women in childbirth are treated with dignity, respect and decency.
It's commendable. I think it's very innovative, and I want to just say that I fully support that, both personally and as a member of this government. And this is a commitment that the president himself made from the very beginning of this administration.
Established in 1999, the White Ribbon Alliance is among others committed towards encouraging accountability as well as feedback mechanism in the delivery of health services towards achieving efficient, effective and respectful care.
It's all about having a compassionate, patient-centered and caring health system that will cater for the needs of the people.
And it's a win-win for everyone because most of the challenges we face is getting political will at the highest level. We have that now.
Highlights of the event was the signing on to the project by Acting President Yemi Osinbajo. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Nigeria has assumed the chairmanship of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union. This is the first time the country will chair the monthly rotational position in the last 2 years. Makut Salman Macham reports from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Peace and security is one of the key issues on the agenda of the 29th Summit of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Nigeria's ambassador to Ethiopia and permanent representative to the African Union, Bankole Adeoye, will now chair the council, which plays a key role in peace missions and security interventions on the continent for the next 1 month. Nigeria is also seeking election into the board of the council at this summit. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema speaks on the significance of this development to Nigeria.
We will be pushing for, ideally, peace in all the conflict areas in Africa, and we will also look at the issue of a rapid deployment force. That's the African security architecture that we have been pushing all along. To have an African force that can be deployed in conflict areas.
Nigeria is also pushing its candidacy for positions at the UN Human Rights Council, the International Telecommunications Union, as well as other positions in ECOWAS, which will be discussed when the ECOWAS Council of Ministers meet on the sidelines of the AU meeting. Already, Nigeria has received AU endorsements for some of the positions being sought, while intense lobbying is ongoing to secure others. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema has met with his Ethiopian counterpart to discuss some bilateral issues on the Nigeria-Ethiopia Joint Commission. From Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, I am Makut Simon Macham, NTA News.
Nigeria and Chad have agreed to strengthen ongoing collaboration on the fight against Boko Haram terrorists. This is part of the outcome of a meeting between the Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishake, and his Chadian counterpart, Lieutenant General Mohammed Ibrahim Said. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
Practically address the ravaging activities of the Boko Haram terrorist group that began in 2009. Nigeria collaborated with other Lake Chad-based member nations. This led to the development of a formidable force, the Multinational Joint Task Force, with the mandate to cordon and eradicate the terrorist group from the region. The strategic meeting taking place in Nigeria is aimed at improving synergy between Nigeria with the dominant force and Chad, the headquarters of the joint operation. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Gilbert Olonishakin, said the platform and mutual consultation will enhance cooperation between the two armed forces towards the clearance of the remnant of Boko Haram from the region. On his part, the Chadian Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Mohammed Ibrahim Said, reiterated commitment to the common cause of fighting terrorism and other criminality in the region.
Chief of Defense Staff of the Nigerian Armed Forces is committed to ensuring that we churn out new strategies and operational procedures to ensure that the synergy between all other forces committed to this effort, not only Chad, is sustained so that we can bring this terrorism to an end.
The meeting also agreed to enhance intelligence sharing between the two countries. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
The intensive response of the federal government at resolving the communal crisis on the Mambila Plateau in Saduana local government of Taraba State is described as a genuine responsibility that can be replicated in curbing violent crises across the country. Governor Darius Ishaku said this when the Minister of Interior, Abdulrahman Dambazau, led a delegation on a fact-finding mission paid him a courtesy visit. Joseph Otsen reports.
With relative calm being experienced on the Mambila Plateau in Sadana local government area of Taraba State, stakeholders have commenced the process of bringing lasting peace in the affected communities.
Because district heads, they're supposed to have various responsibilities to see that problems do not escalate. But in so many instances where we went to, we realized that even the district head saw things happening and he did nothing about it.
The fact-finding mission embarked upon by the Minister for Interior, Abdulrahman Bello Dambazau, to the Mambila Plateau is among the many responses of the federal government towards lasting peace in the area. The minister said he will be visiting the affected communities for an on-the-spot assessment.
So our intention here is most of it long-term. How do we prevent such a thing from happening in the future? How do we ensure that it doesn't happen? How do we ensure that there is peaceful coexistence within the various communities?
Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku informed the delegation that the state government had information on the build-up to the communal crisis and set up a committee headed by the Deputy Governor Haruna Manu to address the grey areas between the affected communities. But before the community would commence work, the crisis broke out.
We have had, I think, within the span of a year, more than 8 crises in this state. More than 8 in different local governments. But it hasn't been taken with the vibrancy like this one is taking. If we had taken that action, maybe the first time it happened, maybe this one wouldn't have happened.
He briefed the delegation about efforts made by the state government to curb the crisis, including the setting up of another committee to be chaired by the chief of Mambila, Shehu Baju, and made up of all the ethnic groups in the area to look into the causes of the crisis and recommend peaceful processes. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound 010, NTA News.
And more on the efforts aimed at curbing crisis. The governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, says the anti-open grazing bill recently signed into law in the state is a strategy adopted to protect the lives of both farmers and livestock breeders. He was speaking in Abuja while interacting with newsmen. Timothy Yusuf was there for us.
Clashes between herdsmen and farmers in Benue State have been an issue that concerned Nigerians say needed to be curtailed if absolute peace must reign in the state. Governor Samuel Otom says the situation was an embarrassment to the state, therefore the urgent need for people to ranch their livestock. It is in these directions that the Benue State House of Assembly commenced the painstaking process of the anti-open grazing bill, which is already signed into law. Enforcement of the law takes effect from November this year.
All that we're concerned is to ensure peace for everybody. And those who are ranching within Benue State, there will be adequate security for their livestock and also for themselves and their children.
On the economy, Governor Otom lauded the agricultural transformation policy of the present administration, especially the recent development on exportation of yams.
For us, we're ready. I can assure you that the capacity is there.
He assured civil servants in the state of government's desire to settle all their salary arrears, which is gradually being tackled. On the security situation in the state, the governor says the coast is now clear for investors to come in, while efforts are in top gear to apprehend the suspected notorious criminal, popularly known as Ghana. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Nigerian Navy says it will always engage relevant maritime stakeholders in protecting the territorial waters and maritime domain of the country. The Naval Chief of Logistics and former flag officer commanding Eastern Naval Command, Rear Admiral James Oluwole, said this in Calabar when he handed over to his successor. Omar Abbasi Edet reports.
Witnessed by service commanders and members of the diplomatic corps, the handing over formalities, which commenced with a farewell parade, signaled the end of a 15-month tenure of Rear Admiral James Oluwole as the flag officer commanding Eastern Naval Command. Rear Admiral Oluwole noted that the command, which comprises Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River States, has recorded several successes in tackling illegal bunkering, piracy, militancy, pipeline vandalism, kidnapping, amongst others. Apart from adding value to maritime security through several successful operations, the outgone FOC also carried out various housing projects aimed at improving the welfare of officers and men of the Eastern Naval Command.
The engagement we're having now is to strengthen the will of all Nigerians. From all over, military, security, paramilitary, everybody, we are all involved.
So the incoming flag officer commanding Eastern Naval Command, Rear Admiral Victor Adedigbe, assured of his determination to consolidate on the legacies of his predecessor and sued for cooperation from all stakeholders. Rear Admiral James Oluwole, who is now the Chief of Logistics Naval Headquarters, has held several appointments in Calabar, Umar Basidet, NTA News.
Issues relating to Hajj management and global best practices are taking center stage at the National Hajj and Umrah Stakeholders Conference holding at the National Mosque, Abuja. Correspondent Ahmad Ambali reports that stakeholders at the conference want independent source of funding so as to engender effective Hajj management.
Usually, the Hajj Commission holds a conference to reflect on Hajj activities in the preceding year so as to chart a way forward for the upcoming exercise. It's a decade since the Hajj Commission was established, even though Hajj activities date further back in time. The post-mortem at this conference, therefore, is both reflective of the past and projectional.
So looking into the future, NACON has a lot of work ahead of it. It would appear that the first 10 years has been a period of establishing the office and populating it with personnel.
We are working with other sister government agencies toward establishing a Hajj training institute.
Independence of source of funding has always been a question relating to Hajj operations. At this interface, participants believe it still holds the key to institutional efficiency in Hajj operations.
Whatever we do as Hajj managers, independence of funding is absolutely crucial.
The Sultan of Sokoto, who chairs the event, wants Muslims to be upright. Describing Hajj as a fundamental part of the religion, he believes it should be a rallying point for Muslims to be united in thoughts and action.
We are each other's brother, and we are working for the success of each and every one of us. We are not here to work for anybody's downfall, but if you do things wrong, we will tell you you have gone wrong.
In Abuja, Ahmed Ambali, NTA News.
The Director General of NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, has charged staff of NTA Bauchi to play their role with all sense of seriousness in order to take the organization to greater heights. The DG gave the charge while on an inspection visit to the station. Abbas Hassan Meikano has the report.
Alhaji Yakubu Ibn Muhammad was a manager news and current affairs NTA Bauchi in 1987, and he also served the station as general manager between 1994 to 2002 when he moved to NTA headquarters Abuja and retired from active service in 2012. Today, he visited the station as Director General, Nigerian Television Authority. While inspecting the station, Alhaji Yakubu Ibn Muhammad described the level of dilapidation of the structure at the station as inhabitable, saying no responsible leader can allow his staff to work in such environment. He therefore gave the ultimatum of 1 week to shut down and relocate to another office for necessary action. He also inspected the alternative place provided along the route. While addressing members of staff, the Director General frowned at the level of indiscipline and lackadaisical attitude towards job and therefore advised the staff to be committed and make sure they earn every kobo of their salary legitimately, as according to him, receiving money you don't work for is a crime.
But please, let's try and move NTA forward in any way we can. You don't have to be a DG to make NTA work. You don't have to be a GM to make NTA work. Even the gate man there can make a difference. We are all involved. We are all stakeholders.
While entertaining questions from members of the staff, Alhaji Yakubu Ibn Muhammad assured his commitment towards staff welfare and remuneration for enhanced productivity. The General Manager NTA Bauchi, Alhaji Ladan Garba, commended the Director General for his concern for NTA Bauchi in particular and the NTA family in general. Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
Now, in a bid to provide more options for the public to relate and contribute to the fight against corruption, the EFCC held a 2-day electronic and social media review and training summit in Abuja. Kolo Mohammed reports that the summit provided a platform for experts to put into perspectives issues concerning the media.
There is no doubt that the EFCC is one agency that everyone in the country knows what it does and how proactive it has been in the fight against corruption. Despite this, however, the Commission feels it has to do more to carry along the public to enable it discharge the mandate of ensuring transparency. This review and training summit for electronic and social media is deliberately organized due to the fact that the two media are the most common in Nigeria.
I think this is a lesson for public service organizations up and down the country. Citizens are willing to support you when you want to work for their benefit, when you want to work to make things easier for them.
Former Executive Director News NTA, Shola Atere, says reluctance by policymakers to make information available hinders the free flow of credible information, which promotes the antics of fake news peddlers.
The media can only project
the information at their disposal. So if the government is making waves, improvement in any particular sector, they must, allow the media access.
Experts at the summit were of the opinion that engaging the media will not only facilitate the understanding of EFCC's mandate, but also galvanize the public to fight corruption. In Abuja, Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
You can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device at the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. There are different perspectives to how the prisons work. Some see it as simple retributive justice, while others think a prison is an obvious utility of isolating criminals from their potential victims. And many emphasize its deterrent value. Whatever may be your thought on this, it is important to keep in mind that prison reforms and rehabilitation programs are aimed at offering inmates a chance to change and better themselves to become productive citizens of society when they get back to the society. So tonight, we'll take a closer look at the programs of prison reforms in Nigeria. And next on the program, our correspondent reports from across the nation, and that is after the break.
From what we have seen, we have the capacity which we can rapidly develop or feed in ourselves. If we don't import rice, we stop importing corn and other grains, Nigeria will have plenty of money to invest into developing industries, especially manufacturing, textiles and so on, and develop iron and steel, and complement the infrastructure development. So really, the opportunities are virtually limitless, and we are very, very aware of this, and we are prepared to exploit it to the fullest.
Hey people, my name is Ricardo Banks, and people always ask me what it's like to have made it, and I always tell them, I'll let you know when I get there.
If you want something worth saying, you have to put yourself out there. Pay homage to those that went before. Give back to the world around. Or sometimes just give to the person next to you. Take every opportunity that comes your way, because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
In this 24/7 upload, download, share it, like it, tweet it, post it world, your life can change in a second. But the question is, are you ready for it?
These data plans are available to all new customers and existing customers who renew their plans. Dial *777#. The largest data network, Glow, Grandmasters of Data.
I can't believe she just rejected me and my camera.
She rejected my lights. How can she not want makeup?
Maybe when the battery dies, she'll come back to us.
Nah, not with a 4,000 milliampere battery.
Experience the best selfies of your life. Gioni A1 Super Selfie Super Battery.
The Future Assured project of the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, is carrying out free medical screening and distribution of food items at various IDP camps while ensuring the economic empowerment of women through training and skill acquisition. In recognition of her efforts, wives of governors have lent their voices and support.
In Kogi State, we feel the impact of Future Assured, especially in women and children.
The Future Assured program of Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, the wife of the president, has been very assuring and still reassuring in Sokoto State. It has impacted positively in the areas of humanity, especially women and children.
Supports the Future Assured initiative. Email programs@futureassured.org.ng. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
No audio. Now, you're still watching Weekend File, and we thank you for staying with us up till this moment. Experts advocate complete prison reforms in the country, saying the present state of Nigerian prisons negates the purpose of reformation. Timothy Yusuf takes a look at some of the conditions that influence the increasingly troubled atmosphere in the Nigerian prisons.
15 inmates escaped from Nsukka prisons. 2 high-profile awaiting trial inmates on the run from Kuje prisons. Dilapidated structures, jailbreaks, and overcrowded prisons from one city to the other remain recurring headlines in the news. This development defines the level of decay in Nigerian prisons today.
Most of the prisons in Nigeria today were built by colonial masters. No single government has made deliberate effort to build new prisons.
The Special Prison Reform Program of the federal government, which was initiated in 1999, made initial efforts towards strengthening the structure of prisons, all in a bid to ensure that the goal of inmate reform is attained. Experts say the rush of riots and protests and jailbreaks recorded in recent years are clearly a manifestation of the fact that the nation's correctional facilities need redemption.
Because of my practice as a medical doctor, I've had occasions to visit several prisons. The prison system is so bad, it's so crowded, it's so unjust.
The major part of our problem in prisons involves those awaiting trial. They constitute over 70% of the prison population.
Many posit that Nigerian prison buildings are not just only congested but mixed with minor crime offenders together with hardened criminals, a situation that is breeding more robbers and kidnappers in the society.
Building a prison is a place where people go to rehabilitate themselves, and when they come out, they will become a good man or good woman in a society.
The good news, however, is the resolve of the federal government to raise the bar in prison reforms.
NEC viewed that there should be an emergency situation in terms of our prisons.
The major challenges facing the prison service has been addressed in a practical manner.
In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And in the next report, Onoto Yakub takes a look at the state of facilities in Kogi State and the incessant cases of jailbreaks and attacks.
Prison is a correctional facility for any person convicted or sentenced by the law court in Nigeria. In Kogi State, there are 6 federal prisons located at Kotonkarfe, Kaba, Okene, Ida, Dekina, and Ampa. Out of this, the prisons located at Okene, Kotonkarfe, and Kaba are new medium prisons. The Kotonkarfe medium prison has the capacity to accommodate over 150 inmates. The 3 other prisons located at Ampa, Ida, and Dekina were constructed during the colonial era, same as the old Kotonkarfe prison, which has recorded a number of attacks and jailbreaks. However, the new Kotonkarfe medium prison is better secured than the one constructed in the colonial era. What facilities are in place to ensure that inmates come out better persons at the end of their jail term? What could be responsible for the jailbreaks and attack on the prison? What are the measures put in place by relevant authorities to avoid future occurrence? In case there are insider collaboration, how have the prison officials and other culprits been punished? These are questions NTA Weekend File sought to ask the controller of prisons, Kogi State. Efforts to get the Kogi State controller of prisons to comment on the issues proved abortive. In Lokoja, Onoto Yakub for NTA Weekend File.
Thank you, Onotu. Meanwhile, Dennis Temple in Abuja State reports that the controller of a prison says prison is no longer a punishment, but a rehabilitation center.
The main aim of establishing the prison institution in all parts of the world, Nigeria not excluded, is to provide a rehabilitation and correctional facility basically for people who violated the rules and regulations of their society. The extent to which this maxim is true remains an issue. This is because the population that goes in and out of prisons in Nigeria presupposes that there are some problems inherent in the system. However, efforts are being made by relevant authorities to address these problems. The controller of prisons, Abia State, Mr. Sylvester Ayoka, said Nigeria prisons have embarked on transformational process to ensure that the institution in Nigeria live up to its expectations.
So apart from this educational program, we still have tailoring, we still have carpentry, we still have bead making. So all these things are there in the prisons, and then we have qualified officers who train the inmates.
Lack of adequate materials, equipment and machinery. The second challenge we have in this prison is, in our workshop, is finance.
As part of the prison's institution's effort to strike a balance and rehabilitate inmates, National Open University of Nigeria recently admitted some inmates for the 2016-2017 academic session, where 13 out of 42 inmates from Umuahia prison gained admission in various programs.
We are thanking the authorities who help us.
It is expected that inmates now come out a better citizen. Dennis Temple, NTN News.
Reports from Maiduguri says there had been no record of any jailbreak prior to the advent of Boko Haram insurgency. But of course, there was a jailbreak in 2009 and 2014. But military detention centers in Maiduguri and Bama were also attacked by the insurgents, releasing a number of prisoners. Naomi Abaku has more on that.
Investigations proved that there has been no record in all the prisons in Maiduguri of any jailbreak or attempted escape since the attack on New Abaganaram prison by Boko Haram terrorists in 2009. Another incident was the fatal attack on the prison in Bama local government area in 2014, where prisoners were brutally murdered and prison wardens killed by Boko Haram terrorists. The military detention center in Giwa Barracks, Maiduguri, was also attacked, where Boko Haram insurgents broke in, releasing all those in detention in search of their members. The maximum security prison, Maiduguri, which has the capacity to accommodate 1,600 inmates, is housing 1,559 at the moment. Weekend file gathered that out of the 1,559 inmates, only 150 are serving specified jail terms, while the remaining 1,350 are Boko Haram suspects, said to have been transferred from the military detention centers across the state.
In the prison, there is so many bad things, such as bad foods. They're not used to good foods. There is some bad people inside. The prisoners, when we are locked inside, we are about 45 people inside one cell. And inside maximum prison, there is 2 sides to 3 sides to 4 sides. 1 is convict, 2 is ATM watching train.
Contrary to what the ex-convict said, information gathered by Weekend File indicates that there are no problems of congestion in all the prisons in Maiduguri.
Behind me is the Abakanaram New Prison, the second in Maiduguri metropolis, located along Sakashim Ibrahim Road. All efforts to get access to the authority for in-depth analysis of some facts concerning this report did not yield result, not even to have a close shot of the structures. In Maiduguri, I am Naomi Aboku, NTA News.
Thank you indeed, Naomi. You're still watching Weekend File, and we thank you for staying with us up till this moment. Next is our conversation segment coming very shortly after the break.
want to know the coolest place in town? It's right here on your phone.
Welcome to the Glow Cafe. Come on in. It's buzzing in the Zanga. In here, anything is possible. Check out the menu, and here are some of the hot items. Over here, you can buy credit, buy data, share data, borrow voice and data, give data. Give it to him now, be kind. Then there is Glow Music Cafe. More than 2 million Nigerian and Africa Lamba. Glow has teamed up with the world's largest gaming catalog to bring you the Glow Game Cafe. And that's just the start. Check out the Glow Video Cafe. Countless clips, comedy and sports, direct to your device. And when you thought things couldn't get easier, there's personal account management and Glow customer care right at your fingertips.
You can get everything at Glow.
Simply text BUZZ to 105 to download the Glow Cafe app or go to your app store and search for Glow Cafe, the largest data network. Glow, grandmasters of data.
We want to buy Indomie noodles. 4 packs, please.
Yo.
This is not my Indomie. Please, sir, if it's not Indomie, don't call it Indomie.
Sir, the taste is the difference. The difference is in the taste. That's why my brothers, my mommy, my daddy, and I all enjoy our delicious, so very delicious Indomie noodles. The difference is the taste.
I can't believe she just rejected me and my camera.
She rejected my lights.
How can she not want makeup?
Maybe when the battery dies, she'll come back to us.
Nah, not with a 4,000 milliampere battery.
Experience the best selfies of your life. Gioni A1 Super Selfie Super Battery.
Here's your order.
I think this is not exactly what we ordered. I ordered a Coca-Cola Zero.
No problem. I can give you 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a great Coca-Cola taste. Here's the Coca-Cola Zero you ordered. Do it again. You still look like you need a Coca-Cola. Why don't you sneak inside your bag? Forever you feel, together be real, together enjoy.
You're welcome back, and in our studio now to discuss the issues arising from reports on prisons reform is Suraj Larinde, Assistant Comptroller General, Nigeria Prison Service, in charge of planning, research, and statistics. You're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it would seem that issues surrounding prison reform is within and also outside prison itself. So let us begin with the Act establishing the prisons and, of course, its functions. Right. What sort of reform would you want to see in the Act, for instance?
Thank you. First, the Prison Act of 1972 is substantially what is still in force, though we now call it P29 of the Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004. Essentially, it talks about the prison service is supposed to receive those who have been legally committed by cause of competent jurisdiction. That's number one. When we receive them, we are supposed to now try to identify causes of their antisocial behavior and then institute mechanisms to train them, to reform them, to rehabilitate them, and then reintegrate them in society on completion of their terms of imprisonment. The prison service is also supposed to operate animal farm centers for animal husbandry and farming, so that we train them, we give them vocational skills training, and in the process generate revenue for the government. Those are basically the mandate of the Nigerian Prison Service as contained in this P29 of the Laws of Federation 2004. Now, we submitted a prison reform bill to the National Assembly in 2001, but it was never passed. As we speak, we have another one with the Ministry of Justice, which we call Nigerian Prison Service and Correctional Service Bill. This provides for, it makes provisions for reformation, for rehabilitation, and for so many things. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, most of the provisions in this act are also contained in this bill that we have in the Ministry of Justice for vetting and submission to the National Assembly. Hopefully, when this bill is passed, it will address most of these problems of prison reforms. Because, for example, let me just give examples. The Prison Act, Prison Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 provides for detention time limits. You cannot simply dump somebody in the prison and he will be there forever. After 2 weeks, you are supposed to go back to court. Another 2 weeks is given, and so on and so forth. We have a maximum of 90 days. Otherwise, the person will be discharged but not acquitted. He can be rearrested and then prosecuted when you are ready. But you don't just keep him there for an indeterminate period. Yes. Now, the biggest problem we have, which is at the core of this reform, before we can do any meaningful reform, we must address one fundamental problem, and that is that of overcrowding. As I'm talking to you, we have altogether about 244 prison formations in this country, with a population of slightly over 70,000. Of these 70,000, over 47,000 are awaiting trial. And of these 47,000, over 200 have been awaiting trial for over 11 years. 212 to be precise, have been awaiting trial.
And they're still in prison?
They are still in prison as we speak for over 11 years.
Before we get to that,
yes.
Nigerians may be interested in this, in the bill, right, which you said you took to the National Assembly in 2001.
In 2001.
Until date, it's not been passed.
That has lapsed, of course, with the end of the 7th Assembly. It's passed, it's gone. But now we have submitted a new one.
A fresh bill now.
Yes, it's now with the Ministry of Justice.
And this bill, we're talking more or less of reforms and rehabilitation.
Reforms, rehabilitation.
Now, we used to hear about prison reforms before now.
Right.
If that is true, what has happened with those reforms?
Okay. Now, even as we speak now, we have trainings going on in the prisons. We have farm centers, we have prison industries, we have other places where they do metal, so many things. But it is limited. As you see on those, the first clips they showed you,
yes,
we even have them going for these national open universities, the ones in Enugu and Nsukka that you have, Umuahia that you have just been shown. Recently, in May, about 40 people passed out from College of Education in Yewa. These are prisoners. 60 of them matriculated almost about the same time again after. So we have training going on, but it is very small because the training facilities are ill-equipped to do this.
Now, you say you have over 47,000 inmates,
right,
awaiting trial.
Awaiting trial.
Now, do you give trainings to that category of detainees?
Now, that is where the problem lies. These 47,000 people, we call them awaiting trial persons. They are presumed innocent until their cases are concluded and are convicted. So you cannot put them through training unless they volunteer for training programs. Again, it is difficult to plan for them since they could be released tomorrow or next week. So we can only plan for the convicted population, which is just about 20,000. Out of this 20,000, again, 2,000 are condemned convicts. They're already condemned, so you cannot be talking of training for those 2,000. When you take that out, we have less than 18,000 that we can talk about giving training.
All right, now let's look at the seemingly long process of prosecuting the awaiting trial persons, like you said. Right. Does it mean that there is a delay in the criminal justice system of this country?
That is just the simple fact. Anywhere in the world where you have overcrowding caused by awaiting trial population, it is because of a dysfunctional criminal justice system. If prosecution is done timely, if adjudication is done in a timely manner, they will not have this problem. So that is just it. It's awaiting trial congestion. It is not overcrowding in the general sense. It is caused by this awaiting trial population. And it is serious in most of the prisons in urban centers. When we talk about these figures, you will not really get it until you do it on a prison-by-prison basis. If you look at Port Harcourt, for example, it was established to cater for 804 prisoners. As we speak, it has close to 4,000. When you look at Warri was established to take care of 308. As we speak, it has over 1,600. And of this 1,600, only 480 are convicted. In the case of Port Harcourt, of the close to 4,000, only 500 are convicted. When you go to Kano prison, for example, you have 1,600 people in that prison. It's supposed to take care of only 690, and on and on and on like that. The same thing for Ikoyi, Medium, all over. That's the way it is.
Now, insufficient inmate space, which you mentioned earlier on.
Right.
Now, without the bill being passed, can something be done? Because we've seen from the clips that we saw here,
right.
They don't look like prisons anyway. They look like residential, normal residential, places, and that is why breaking the place is so easy. So what is being done?
Right. We must commend the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. 2016 budget provided a lot of money under capital for the prisons. That has never been done before. So now we have serious, massive infrastructural upgrade going on in most of these prisons. Some of these mud structures have been demolished to give way to concrete structures. Then we also have, in the case of logistics, the government procured about 200 operational vehicles for the prison service. You know, all this situation of prisoners awaiting trial persons not being produced in court as and when due. Those are cases that will be addressed with this provision of vehicles. We are hoping that this will be sustained because it has taken so many years of neglect to get to this stage. So certainly it is not something that will be corrected in 1 year or with one budget. It is something that's going to take a long time. But if this improved budgetary allocation is sustained over the next few years, we will get there.
Oh, well, now, do you think that your service is deploying modern technologies such as CCTV detectors, prisoner database, to forestall and, of course, deter jailbreak, for instance?
Right. That is one of the projects that is in the pipeline. But for a few prisons, like Abuja, Lagos, Enugu, we already have this biometric system of documentation of prisoners. We are hoping to replicate it in prisons all over the country. But for now, it's only those prisons that have this facility. Then we have CCTVs and even the use of metal detectors in some of these prisons. It's also part of the long-term plan to have this done in all the prisons in the country.
Now, what, in your opinion, is the reason for the insistent jailbreaks, especially Lokoja? That this daybreak is like an annual thing. So what is responsible for this?
You identified it at the beginning when you talk about the weak structures. Even though I see that Kotonkarfe looks like something that was done not too long ago, but if you look at it closely, the structures are not really solid concrete structures. You do not build prisons like residential homes. The walls must be thick. They should not be easily perforated by prisoners. So that is one reason why we are having that problem. But that is being looked into, and most of these prisons will be provided with solid perimeter walls that will take care of this.
Because from what you have told us now, there's a clear indication that the reform is not even in sight in the first place. Because meanwhile, you say you cannot work with just one budget. Right. That's number one. Right. Number two, the bill that you have is seen at the National Assembly, not addressed at the moment. And what hope do you now have?
Yes.
To be able to do some of these things like the structures we talked about,
yes,
and provision of the modern devices that you talked about. What is the efforts that the prison service is making at the moment on their own to see what they can do? Are there, donor agencies that are assisting you in this direction?
Thank you so much. What gives us hope is that we have at this moment a Minister of Interior who appreciates the enormity of the challenges confronting prison administration and who is taking the lead in selling this. The Honorable Minister made a presentation to the Federal Executive Council not too long ago. He made a similar presentation to the National Economic Council recently on the situation of prisons and general condition of prisoners in this country. And he identified, in the presentation he made, identified strategies to bring about the reformation of the system. He identified short-term strategies, medium-term, and long-term. For the short term, the minister is looking at having an immediate review of cases of awaiting trial persons who have been in prison for upwards of 5 years. He's looking at convincing the state governors to look into cases of condemned convicts who have been on the death row for over 10 years, with a view to either commuting those sentences to life imprisonment or signing the death warrant. He's looking at cases of those prisoners who are suffering from terminal ailments. Also to review the cases of people who are elderly, like the over 60 years old, who are in prison and who have served a large part of their sentences. That is the immediate. For the medium term, he's also looking at convincing state governors to domesticate the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which provides for non-custodial sanctions, detention time limits, plea bargains, suspended sentences, community service, and so on and so forth. For the long term, he's looking at establishing in each geopolitical zone a 3,000 capacity prison, modern prison that has everything, that in terms of security, in terms of reformation, in terms of training, that provide everything. Those are the strategies that he has submitted.
Okay, now one last question. Yes, we have many Nigerians in prison across the globe. Right. And I believe we also have foreigners who are in prison. So would you advocate for international exchange of prisoners?
Right. Nigeria has memorandum of understanding with some countries on exchange of transfer of prisoners. And in this case, the prison is involved as a recipient. When these prisoners get to Nigeria and they have to complete their sentences, they will come to us in the prison. So the prison is involved in all these discussions with those countries with which we have MOU on transfer of prisoners. That is the situation with
is it working out? Is anything working out?
Yes, it is. For those countries with which we have memorandum of understanding on transfer, we do it. Okay. Yes, but if we want to do it with a government with which Nigeria doesn't have one, they will have to sit down to develop a memorandum of understanding before they could do anything, to determine the rules that will surround this transfer exercise.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. It's been a pleasure talking to you on this program. Suraj Olarinde is an Assistant Comptroller General, Nigeria Prison Service, in charge of planning, research and statistics. Thank you once again for being part of our show this evening. And up ahead on Weekend File is sports. Stay with us. Wait.
The program is a very laudable achievement on the part of the federal government and state government. Since the commencement of the program, the children are really doing fine. The vendors are wonderful. In fact, they are doing a good job. They usually come to school on time. They serve the children, they serve the puppies. The program has really helped the children because there are some puppies, they don't have access to balanced diet. With the commencement of this program, many lives have been touched. They have easy access to balanced diet. It has really helped the children a lot.
Nigeria dominates at the 8th African Arm Wrestling Championship in Lagos. As for the 3rd NCC Tennis League holds in Lagos. These and more in our sports update with Henry Efium.
Team Nigeria emerged champion Saturday at the 8th African Arm Wrestling Championship, which ended at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos. Nigeria topped the medals table with 19 gold, 16 silver and 11 bronze medals, followed by Ghana on 10 gold, 5 silver and 6 bronze medals. Mali finished third with 8 gold, 4 silver and 1 bronze medal.
We hope what we are doing today is going to probably put a lot of people's mind to see the sport has come to stay, and we will continue to grow from strength to strength.
A total of 5 countries took part in the 3-day championship in 10 weight categories, including the physically challenged. 12 top tennis clubs, including defending champions Team Ofiku, have been drawn to play in 2 groups during the opening ceremony of the 3rd NCC Tennis League, which held at the Ikoyi Club in Lagos. The tournament, which seeks to empower the players, will see the winner take home a prize money of 7 million naira. 5 million will go to the second placed team. The 3rd position will take home 3 million, while the 4th finisher carries away the sum of 2 million naira.
Because of this event, Nigerians, some of these players now have now been rated on the ATP.
We have expanded. We have 14 teams this year. We're going to peak at 12. With 10 teams from last year, 8 teams from 2015, we can only be making progress.
The tournament is scheduled to last for 52 weeks. In football, a mouth-watering final awaits soccer lovers as South American champions Chile take on world champions Germany in Sunday's FIFA Confederation Cup final in Russia. Chile beat European champions Portugal 3-0 on penalties to book their spot.
The agency, I am Issa Helen Bui. Partly cloudy to cloudy morning is expected over the north, some parts of the central and the inland cities, with pockets of thunderstorms affecting Bauchi, Makurdi, Kaduna, and Mambila axis, while localized rains are likely over the coastal states. Later on, there are prospects of thunderstorms over the northern part of the country, the eastern half of the central cities, and the southern states. For the maximum temperatures across some selected cities, do stand by.
And before we go, a quick reminder that you can watch all our stories and much more when you log on to our website of www.nta.ng. And that's how we conclude today's edition of Weekend File. Join us again next week when we bring you a fresh edition of the package. From all of us here, is good night.